of the churches and the people that came together, or they would come together and meet. And on this particular night, the windows were up. There were no air conditioning. The church was packed. The balcony, every seat. And we were there singing freedom songs, such as, "Oh, oh, freedom, oh, oh, freedom, oh, oh, freedom is for you, it's for me, and before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free and be free." We sang those songs, no matter whether you could sing or not, to the top of your voices. It would lift you up, and you would get out of your seats, and the leaders would say, "We're going downtown. We're going to march. We're going to march on City Hall. We're going to the drugstores. We're going to the Martin Theater. We're going to march, and we're going to sing, and we're going to be together." I filed out of that church one night, not realizing what I was going to meet and what was ahead of me. I filed out of that church. 2 by 2, we would get in lines and we would march, singing those songs. And as we got 3 blocks from the church, I can remember the policemen coming with the billy clubs and the hoses and the chanting, "Niggers this and niggers that," and pushing us into the wagons. All the people that were in the streets. We went downtown, we were processed into the jail cell, and they separated the children or the girls in one cell, the women in another cell, and the men in another cell. Now we packed the jails in Sumter County. I mean, they had no place else to put us. So they began to contract with neighboring counties to allow us to be housed in their jail facility. They contracted with Leesburg, Georgia, just up the road, to house some 33 young girls between the age of 11 and 15 or 16. We were thrown and taken from the city jail and thrown into this stockade. A stockade that they kept cattle in. Okay. Cement floors. They put mattresses in there for a while. And I don't know how, one day, we were there 2 or 3 days, they caught a fire. The cotton in the mattress. We think it was planted there by the guard. They wanted us to run and escape. And I remember somebody saying, "Run, nigga, run." And we almost did it, but one of the older girls said, "Don't run, they gonna want to shoot you. They gonna shoot you," saying you escaped. So we huddled together and we didn't run. When we went back into the cell that they had for us, now, this was a cell with cement floors, had 1 toilet in the back. A hose that they had put in there connected to a faucet that they used to wash the cattle down. That was our drinking water. We could turn it on and drink from this nasty hose. We used that toilet, so can you imagine 33 girls trying to use 1 toilet? It filled up because it didn't have work. I mean, if you would look in the 2005 June of Essence, they have a picture of that toilet because there was a photographer named Danny Lyons who found us and was able to take pictures through the jail cell. Now, I will tell you, I stayed in jail some 30 days. My sister stayed 40 days. There were a lot of girls that stayed 15 or 20 because they was just gradually bringing the young girls there. But it was horrible. No facility really to take a bath. The stench was awful. And we had to sleep on those full cement floors. They gave us 4 crystal burgers a day. If you ate them all in the morning, those little bitty burgers, you were hungry for the rest of the day. So you found a way to eat one here, and maybe save one to the afternoon. And that was all they gave us to eat. Can you imagine between the ages of 11 and 15? These are young girls. They're having menstrual cycles, some of them. They gave us nothing. You took the clothes off your back, you tore them, and you used whatever you could find. And I get emotional when I talk about that particular thing, because even though I don't hate, I still have scars. I can remember vividly how inhumane we were treated as young girls, young children really. But we finally got out of jail. My dad being a principal, leaders in the NAACP movement, they didn't want some of us girls, our parents, feeling the wrath of their children being in jail. My daddy at that time had to pay $2 a day for every day that me and my sister were in jail from his household. And gradually, all of us got out of jail. And the first account of the story that I know of was called The Stolen Girls. That's in this Essence magazine. They sent a writer down, and she went through the court records and everything and investigated the story and what happened. And the reason she called us the Stolen Girls, because for about 2 to 3 weeks, our parents didn't even know where we were. When they took us to Leesburg, they just knew we were gone. When Danny Lowndes found us, because they were out searching, where could we be? And he came to those bars and started taking pictures, and you can see some pictures in that. He told some of us, you didn't get a picture of all the girls that were there. You got some of them, because he said, don't come to the window, don't come to the window. We don't want the guard to know that I'm here, because he was on the other side of the building. He said, act normal, act normal. And so some of us were over there, we called them Pops. Some of us was over there entertaining Pops so that he could get his story and talk to some of the girls. And so you won't see all 33 girls in that picture when you look there, but there were more girls than what some people want to pretend that were there. There's another book that has been written, and this is the main picture that Danny Lowndes took, called Locked Up for Freedom. And it talks about the Leesburg Stockade and what happened there. And another good book that you can read is The Class of 65. And now I'm in this book, and it doesn't necessarily talk about the Leesburg Stockade, but it talks about other things that I was involved in as a part of the civil rights movement. But let me tell you, the people in Mississippi, the people in Arkansas, what we did in Leesburg. Martin Luther King is one of my idols, of course, as he is for many people. But it was necessary for all of us foot soldiers that were doing stuff on the ground to help make the dream come alive. If he didn't have foot soldiers that was working in the vineyard, down on the bottom level, none of what you see today would be possible. We had to do what we had to do. Now, I was a little girl, 13 years old, turning 14. I wasn't out there saying, oh, I want to become famous. I was just doing what we had to do and what my father was teaching us that we had to do. I think I'm going to run out of time. But there are other things that you have to, other things that I did, and I'm going to briefly tell that and then talk a little about today. I integrated the schools in Americus, Georgia. After I got out of jail and spent my 98th year in the black school, I decided, oh, the white school is just 2 blocks from my house. I'm going to go over there, and I'm a nice little lady, and they going to learn to love me and all this. Oh, man, was I wrong. The first day that we drove on that campus, and there were 4 of us, I think every white person in that town in Americus, Georgia, came to school that morning. As far as your eyes could see, which is people. I'd never been so scared in all my life. Not even the day that I was marched and locked up. Bricks hit that car. I mean, they were just pounding it. I thought they were going to turn the car over. They were rocking it. We had to smear it out, go around, go to the principal's office, and wait till they clear the campus before we could go to class. We had to go to school, change class 5 minutes before or 5 minutes after all the white kids. We were pounded, spat on, talked at, hollered at. Of course, I kind of liked the name that they gave me. Not really, but I'm going to tell you. I got my lesson in the black school. I was an A student. When I got to the white school, I studied my butt off. I got my lesson and I made the beta club. So they look at me and go, there go that smart nigga. Well, okay, if that's what you want to call me. But within months of us integrating that school, the others went back. I'll never forget, my dad came to my room one night. He said, girl, he said, the others are going back. I don't blame you. If you go back, I'll support you. If you stay, I'll support you. I thought about it and I told him, Dad, you didn't rate a quitter. I stayed at Americus High by myself for about 3 to 4 months of the first year that we integrated that school. Not talking to anybody. I leave home in the morning, and unless I raise my hand in class and answer a question, my mouth didn't open the whole day. And that's why I talk so much, and my mama say. She said, because when I got home, I just talk. But, we did what we had to do. What you have now, you don't have the kind of situations. I know when people get killed and shot, and we got some of that going on. And I know people take to the streets and march. But the kinds of things, we did all we did. And you stand on our shoulders. You stand on all these people's shoulders. Because you wouldn't be able to do the things that you do now if it wasn't for the efforts of a lot that went before you. Not just me, a lot that went on. But what you have to worry about now is what goes on in the boardrooms, in the classrooms, in the legislature, when they're making these laws, when they're doing what they have to do. And I will tell you what hurts me so is that we don't get out to vote. I went through all of that, and I can't even get my young brothers and sisters to go vote. Or I can't get you, you made it and got this doctorate degree and you do this, but you ride by the Board of Education when they're having a meeting. You ride by the City Hall. You ride by the county commissioners meeting. Or you won't pick up the paper or the news to see what they trying to pass and what they voting on. And then after they vote on it, you look at the impact and you go, that's not right. But we weren't at the table. We were not at the table when they were making this so that we could protest against it. Or we could say something and be vocal at the time. These are the things that bother me now. And so I would just ask you, look around you, what you can do, whatever it is that you can do to help the situation and move things along. Racism is not gone. It's still here. It's embedded in some of our laws and whatever. We need to support those legislators and those people who are trying to make it better for our children and for us, okay? So I'm going to leave some time, I think it's 19, 12, 20, for y'all to ask me some questions if you would like. But I really, a lot of people say, why me? Why me? And I say, why not you? I learned a poem, you know, when I went to school in Americus, Georgia, we had black teachers that would make us learn scripture, that would make us, they can't do that now. You know, you don't bring God nowhere near the classroom or anything like that. And she would always, I remember Miss Otterville Roberts that used to make us learn these poems. And she made me learn a scripture of 12th chapter of Ecclesiastes. Remember not thy creator on the days that I used while the years draw nigh. And now shall say, I have no pleasure in thee, while the sun, moon, or star be not darkened. Learned that in 5th grade. But one of the poems that has always sat with me is one that she says, you. And I'm going to recite that to you. It says, you are the one who has to decide whether you'll do it or toss it aside. You are the one to make up your mind whether you'll lead or linger behind, whether you'll strive for the good that's afar or just be content to stay where you are. You take it or leave it. There is something to do. Just think it over. It's all up to you. Okay? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause.
Questions? Yes.
Why do you think that they took religion out of schools?
Because you got so many types of religion and they didn't want people teaching Baptist or scripture, or you got atheists, people that don't believe in God and they say, I want to raise my child this way. And in America, it should be, you know, freedom of whatever they say. So they took religion out of schools. You can't do that. Unless it is, I think they left a loophole, unless it is student-led or something. But the faculties and leadership cannot promote Christianity in schools of any form. But like you said, we have to hammer it into them. I don't let my children go without knowing what they, of course, my middle child told me, said, Mama, you know, you used to tell us all the time what you did and what you did. And he said, and he is now 30-something years old. And he said, it was only in these last 4 or 5 years I really feel the impact of what you do. But you have to stay in the history to know where you come from and what it took for you to be here today. But then you can't just sit there. You got to do what you can do. Some of you could be our legislators. Some of you could be our doctors that can, you know, some of you can be in the boardroom. I ran for the Board of Education in Houston County. I won. Then I came along and I lost another cycle. But I'm working at the state now. I am chairman of the board for the Department of Human Services. I got a governor's appointment. And every time I get a chance when we are passing policy and it's going to affect us, I said, whoa, wait now. Let's talk about this. And I'm at the table to talk about some policies that affect the state. So it's when you get these opportunities, you have to take them, but you have to know. You can't go around here living. You need to know about all these things that happen. Albany has a rich history of civil rights movement. You have to keep abreast. And I'm still learning some of it. I go, oh, I didn't know that happened. You know. You know about the big things, the bombings in Alabama, and whatever. But you have to just keep enriching your lives to know where you come from. And then once you do that, you got to move from that. I never miss an opportunity to vote. I don't care if it's, because let me tell you something. A lot of people don't vote unless it's for the president. But guess what? It's some people at your county level and on your state level that's affecting your lives the most. When our state government does not take up expanded Medicaid, who does it hurt? Who does it hurt? Us. And so I lobby for it. I even tell my governor when I see him, All right, now I just whispered in his ear. He might not, I know how they stand. I said, look, you ought to consider expanding Medicaid. Maybe one of these days he'll look at it and say, well, maybe I need to stop and do this. But I'm just saying, we need to keep learning our history and knowing what happened. And it wasn't just only whites, I will tell you that. Because they had whites that came down and they said, oh, they white agitators. We had a lot of whites that marched along with us to help us to try to achieve what we have today. Anybody? We were processed, but those records were sealed after a certain point. Now, I need to go back and look at that because when I integrated America's High, they followed me one night. I could tell you a lot of stories, and I was locked up for 3 days by myself. I mean, not for marching, but because me and Ellis Brown, he's the brother of your mayor. I know her very well. She grew up in Americas. But Ellis and I were locked up. I was in the car with him one night, and a policeman stopped us, and being children, we didn't whatever. I didn't give my daddy the ticket. And when I didn't give it to him, they were about to come and arrest me at the high school the next day and all this stuff. And Attorney Fordson went to my dad and he sent for me and blah, blah, blah. And they locked me up, and the judge sentenced me to reform school till I was 18. That was since overturned because Fordson helped my daddy. And they threw him out of town. The church locked the doors on him. It's a lots that went on. But I don't know if that record is still there. I don't know if they sealed it, and I probably need to go to some and look and see. But it hadn't stopped me from getting into pharmacy school. I'm a pharmacist by trade. I worked 38 years as director of pharmacy at House of Medical Center. I was the first black department head at House of Medical Center, and so it didn't stop me from doing anything. So I believe when they did my background checks, they probably did not pick that up. So, yeah. It's a lot that went on, and if I dare to say, if you would talk to your parents and your aunt, see, many people think that, oh, that was a long time ago. Those people dead. Dead and gone. No, we aren't. A lot of us are alive and vibrant. Now, I'm older than you probably think I am, and I'm proud of it. I'll be 70 years old this September. But, and I'm still wearing my heels, and I'm still, but a lot of us are still alive and telling the story and telling the stories. So if I dare to say, if you would talk to your grandmamas and your aunts and uncles, you will find out some things that you never really thought happened.
Or your neighbors.
Oh, your neighbors. That's right. That's right. She was my neighbor growing up. Look, she was a little girl running around with my children. So Tiffany was. I don't know the author. I learned it in 5th grade. Name of it is You. Just look up and you can go. And that was another one I will tell you called My Lad. And it says, figure it out for yourself, my lad. You've all that the greatest of men have had. 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, and 2 eyes, and a brain to use. If you would be wise. With this equipment, they all began. So you start from the top and you say, I can. Courage comes from the soul within. It's the man that furnishes that will to win. So you figure it out for yourself, my lad. You've all that the greatest of men have had. 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, and 2 eyes, and a brain to use if you would be wise. With this equipment, they all began. So you start from the top and you say, what? I can. I learned that in 5th grade. Miss Audubon Roberts, I never told her before she died what a great influence that she had on my life. And she had an impact like nobody's business. And she was my Sunday school teacher too. Any other questions? Yes. It made me stronger, and with a strong father that I had, and he at one point was president of the NAACP and all. I'm more like my father than my mother. My mother was very meek and quiet, but strong in her own way. But it helps me to step up to the plate. And I get flutters. Don't think I don't get nervous when I'm stepping up to do something. But I found out that they know better than I am. I can learn it just like they can. And I can think just like they can. Or any other person. I don't care whether they black or white. So I tend to step up in the plate when it's needed. It made me stronger. Most of them moved away. There are only a few left in America. Some have died. Several of, at least 5 of them have died. A couple of them were in my class. I know the whites have never invited me to a class reunion. And so the black school, I didn't graduate with them, but my class there of 67, they always invite me to the class reunion. And so some of those girls were in that class, Henrietta Fuller, and some of the others were in that class also. So when I go to the class reunions, I do see them. And so I do see some of them. Yeah. I was at the service in Americas where they for the Stockade girls, they got a monument there. And Martin Luther King spent one night in a jail cell in Americas. And if you go to the courthouse, they have cemented in the door to that jail cell that Martin Luther King was in. It's in America. I was there, but and the stockade is still there. I don't know what they're using it for now, but I've been out there once since that happened.
So if there are not any further questions, we're going to give
And if you go to the museum in Washington, D.C., they have pictures of the stockade and I can't find it right now.
afternoon and sharing her story with us about her experiences in the Leesburg Stockade. So we cannot say enough. Thank you for coming and giving us this wonderful message for our students. So thank you. And I would say what she reminds me of, and probably for all of you, you can remember that teacher that imparted some wisdom upon you as a child. I certainly had some teachers who gave me those, made me recite some of those poems. I had a teacher who told me when I was very young, the James Baldwin quote, which is, "To teach a black child is a revolutionary act."
That's right.
And talked about how many of the teachers who were during the Civil Rights Movement and before the Civil Rights Movement instilled those ideas of self-worth and of pride, and that is what inspired so many students to become activists. So teachers played a very, very big role in the Civil Rights Movement behind the scenes, as we heard from Mrs. Fletcher's experience. So thank you all for coming. We have one final brown bag seminar. 19 is that